Shall we begin?
Welcome to the Happy MonsterCast. I'm your host, Scott Marchand Davis of Happy Monster Press.
Let's begin now.
This week on the Happy MonsterCast, the Legion of Liberty works to promote Mr. Jefferson's Declaration of Independence. Previously on the Happy MonsterCast, the Continental Army has formed the Legion of Liberty, a unit of superhumans fighting for freedom from the British Crown. Elijah Allen, Master of Mind Control. Artemis Crow, Invisible Assassin. Petanoit, the Wampanoag Swamp Monster. Clara Washington, Super Soldier. And Victoria Spellman, the Human Cannon. Assassins are attempting to strike down General Washington, but the Legion is there to fight back. So here's what happened. Washington invited you to dinner. There were rumors about a threat to him, which you'd already conveyed to him, and it turns out they were credible rumors because a whole horde of thugs came bursting in, along with two identical Native American women who went straight for Washington and pretty handily took him out. And Hamilton got in the way, and he went down as well. So Washington and Hamilton are both down and bleeding. And that
Frank is pretty messed up too, if I remember correctly. Petanoit is his name?
Yeah, Petanoit is wounded. Elijah is okay but shaken, and Victoria is just plain okay. So that will pick us up in the 5th round of combat, starting with Elijah.
Oh, cool. I'm gonna shoot. What's her name? Kawita?
Yeah, you don't know her name, but yeah, you can shoot the Native American woman.
Yeah, this one right here by the two by George Washington down and Alexander Hamilton down. I'm gonna shoot at her.
Okay. So I should note with respect to Washington and Hamilton, we are using the heroes never die rules, which means that superhumans definitely cannot be killed. Something will intervene. Whether it also applies to certain but not all historical figures. So we'll see how that plays out.
I guess I have to unshake. I'm shaking.
You do have to unshake, so let's get a spirit roll first, then.
Okay. Spirit. Oh.
With a 13, you unshake handily.
All right, so shooting.
That will hit with a raise, a 12. You nailed her perfectly, center chest.
Awesome. And I click on the pistol for damage?
Yes.
Okay, I haven't actually shoot anyone.
That also rolls the skill die, but we'll take the 12.
Okay.
Okay, so
another D6?
Another D6 on top of that, yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to type, was it roll D6?
Just like roll 20, yeah.
Okay. If I do it in caps, does that mess it up?
No, it shouldn't.
Okay.
Okay, so that's 11 damage. That's very respectable. The bullet, you line up with your pistol, you fire. The bullet hits her straight in the chest, and it bounces off.
Oh, that's not good. I am aghast.
You're like, oh, that's new. Okay, next up is Victoria. Victoria, you are in combat with these guys at this point.
Yeah, since I'm in close quarters, can I try and hit someone with like my saber cutlass?
You absolutely can draw your saber and try to hit the woman with it.
All right, awesome. Fighting roll?
Yeah, you can just click on the saber. You just did. Yeah, there you go.
Okay, perfect.
Very nice. Right. 2 raises on that, so that's 12 damage. And as you slash her, that does seem to do something.
Right.
So that is enough to potentially shake her and do a wound. And she is in a position where that's going to take effect. All right, next up are the two guys who are attacking the now shapeshifted Petanoit. And they run, which means that Petanoit's going to get a free swing at them as they go by. But he does not connect since he's kind of messed up. And they will go. Okay, so Yeah, so they're making a break for it. Okay, next up are the Native American women. They also are running for it. Apparently, they feel like mission accomplished here. So, Victoria, you're going to get a free swing at one as she jumps out the window. That one, she deflects, and so she basically goes out the window and runs for it.
Oh no!
And she disappears into the night. All right, that takes us to Pet Know-It, who still has one guy in range, and he is definitely going to try to bring some smackdown on this guy as a Swamp Thing, and he is completely failing to do that because he's kind of messed up. Next up, the other Kawita is also going to jump through a window, which apparently breaking glass is not a big deal for her, and she also disappears into the night. And the last guy, the last thug, is also running away. Pet Know-It once again is going to see if he can possibly hit something. And this time he still fails. All right. So are you guys going to pursue or are you going to deal with the wounded here?
I don't have healing, so I don't know how good I would be at healing the wounded.
Pet Know-It does.
I would like to pursue, like, at a distance, like if I can.
Okay.
Semi-stealthily.
Unfortunately, so how are you getting out of the room? Are you going to try to dive through this broken window?
No, I'm going to go out the door near Pet Know-It.
Okay. Are you going to run then?
Yeah.
Okay. So give me a D6 for running and see how far you can get.
Okay.
All right. That's pretty good. So you can move 10.
Okay. All right. So it brings me basically like to the door.
Pretty much, yeah. Which means you can see the other two guys in the process of running away.
Yeah, I'm going to trail them.
Okay.
But as stealthily as I can. I'm going to try to run through if there's any foliage.
Okay. Victoria, what are you going to do?
I'd like to stay and see if I can treat them or help them.
Okay. So basically, here's how this plays out. Elijah, you follow them stealthily only to find that they have horses concealed nearby. And so they all ride off and there's really no way for you to follow them because you don't have a horse.
Okay. Do I at least get a sense of the direction that they left?
They headed south towards Manhattan. You're on Manhattan. They headed south towards the city proper.
Okay.
All right. So Pet Know-It is going to make a healing attempt first on Washington. And he's successful. He stabilizes Washington. And he stabilizes Hamilton.
Wow.
Oh, wonderful. Well done.
And he does a pretty good job patching up Washington and an excellent job patching up Hamilton. So he's on fire tonight with the healing rolls.
Saved all his good rolls.
So Washington's still injured. He took a bullet in the near the hip, but the joint seems to be working. So he's not in great shape, but he's probably going to be okay. Hamilton took one in the shoulder, and he's probably going to be wearing his arm in a sling for a while. But they're both going to survive the experience. And Washington, as he's kind of regaining consciousness, says, "Who were those fiends? Agents of the British? How dare they stoop to assassination? There are quite a few bodies piled up here if you want to investigate."
Yeah, let's search any of the dead.
Okay.
You can find it or anything to let us know.
I would like notice rolls from those of you who are there to do searching.
Okay.
All right. So as you're searching them, you notice something strange as you're looking at their shoes, their feet. And so you take out your pocket knife and you cut away their stockings. And you find on each of them, there is a tattoo on their ankle of a set of concentric rings. You've seen this tattoo before. You saw it on the ankle of Thomas Howe when you were rescuing the hostages in New York.
Okay. I'm going to illustrate it as best as I can.
Okay. It's pretty simple. It looks like a bullseye. There are 7 rings total. And you also see that You also remember from your encounter with Howe that he mentioned something about an order.
Okay. Seems these thugs were aligned with Thomas Howe. This must be the order he was speaking of.
If this order has access to superhumans, they are a grave danger to us. I shall set my resources to determining what may be done to identify these rogues. As for you three, I shall petition Congress for and also for you, Mr. Hamilton. I shall petition Congress to allow me to decorate you for valor in fighting off these assassins.
Too kind, General.
And with that, you're able to complete the evening somewhat not as planned. Unfortunately, the two sentries out front were both killed. But at least Washington and Hamilton will live to fight another day. So you have been summoned to or posted to Philadelphia at this time, which is the location of the Continental Congress. And the prospect of whether to declare independence or whether to simply remain as crown colonies, but try to persuade the crown and parliament to back off on some of the intolerable acts that they had perpetrated against the colonies. It's very controversial. And some states are very much in favor of independence. Other states' delegations are much more ambiguous or ambivalent. And so your old friend Sam Adams calls you to the Philadelphia City Hall, where he has appropriated a small office. This is a delicate time, friends. Our Continental Congress is on the cusp of deciding whether we shall cut ties once and for all with the tyrant King George and forge a new nation. Certain of the colonial delegations are wavering, however. If you can bring your abilities and experience at the front to bear on the men of New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Delaware, we can perhaps convince enough of them to vote for independence to start this great project.
We're at your service, Mr. Adams.
So which delegations would you like to tackle?
We got New York, Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Delaware.
Yeah. Those are the ones that, according to Adams, the other 9 colonies are pretty solid in favor of independence, but they really want it to be unanimous, if at all possible. So they want to see if they can get the other 4 that are wavering to sign on.
What do we know about the delegates from these various colonies? Is there a reason to prefer one over the other?
Well, you can do a little networking to see what you can find out.
Okay.
So the way networking works is similar to the way you were gathering information in New York City, but you weren't here for that, Brendan. So I'll lay it out for you. Basically, there's the easy way and the hard way. The easy way is you use persuasion. Maybe you throw a little money at the problem, and you play nice, and then see if a little carousing, see what kinds of things you can come up with that people are willing to tell you. The hard way is you knock some heads. Now, obviously, you're not going to go knock the heads of the delegations, but you might be able to intimidate some of the local clerks and things, some of the people who are working with the delegations, their servants and things, and get some information that way.
Can I snoop into their lodgings and get some papers and things?
I'd allow you to at least attempt that.
Okay.
So if you want to, which delegation are you going after from that perspective?
Okay, so with these 4, I mean, obviously New York and Pennsylvania are much larger than Delaware and a lot richer than South Carolina. If we can convince New York and Pennsylvania to go, will that sway the other 2, or do we need to do each of them individually, do you think?
Well, you'd have to find out what their concerns are, because obviously the delegates have some reason for opposing independence. The question is, what is that reason, and is there something you can do about it?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna turn invisible, and I'm gonna try to get some information. I'm gonna search the rooms and the desks and things of the New York delegation.
Okay. So go ahead and give me a stealth roll and a thievery roll, please. All right. Well, with the 12 stealth, you definitely make it unnoticed. And with the 5 thievery, you are able to unlock one of the secretaries and and rifle through some papers. And according to the correspondence that you see, the senior delegate, Robert Livingston, has sent a message to the New York Provisional Congress to ask them for authorization to vote for independence. But he hasn't received a reply yet.
Okay. So maybe we should talk to Paul Revere and get him to run up to New York, or to Albany, I guess, and hasten the reply.
Unfortunately, Revere is in New York. He's fighting with Washington in the fighting around New York City and New Jersey.
Okay.
Good thought, though.
Yeah, it's a nice plan. Okay.
But your sense from his correspondence, though, is that he is in favor of independence, but he doesn't have the authorization to vote for it.
Okay.
What about the other delegations? Are any of you going to try to investigate there?
Yeah. I'll go ahead and investigate.
We divide them up.
That's reasonable. Yeah. Okay, so we'll just start. Victoria, which one are you going to go talk to? South Carolina, Pennsylvania, or Delaware?
I'm kind of curious about Delaware. I'm just wondering if I can persuade them, maybe based on its geographic position, waterways. It's a small state, but if it's backed up by other states, it's worth it. We'll sort of back them up, that kind of thing.
Okay, so go ahead and give me a persuasion roll first off to see how easily you can get access to the Delaware delegation. Okay, with a 5, you're able to kind of talk your way in and get a sense of what's going on with Delaware. And as you're talking to some of the, you're not talking to the delegates yet. You're kind of working your way in via the servants in their houses and things. And you really get the sense that they are divided right now. That the gossip in the kitchens and such is that one of the delegates is pro-independence and one of them is anti. But there is a third delegate who could potentially break the tie. The third delegate is a gentleman by the name of Caesar Rodney, who is in Delaware, and you understand that he is currently in Delaware, and potentially could break the tie in favor of independence.
Can I send him a letter?
You can, but they're hoping to have the vote the day after tomorrow. So he's at least 70 miles away. Posting a letter might or might not get there in time.
Okay.
It would, however, at least potentially be possible to ride there.
Okay.
Particularly if you were a skilled horse person.
I see.
All right. So while you ponder that, Elijah, who are you talking to?
I guess I'll go to New York.
The story with New York, which is they want to vote for it, but they can't because they're not authorized. So what are you going to do about that?
What do I know about the process? Is there any way that I think I could convince people besides maybe going and manually trying to convince them by mind wipe or whatever?
Well, you could try to puppet them to vote in your favor, but that might not sit well if it gets out. People do remember when they've been puppeted.
Yeah. I guess I'll just take it old school style, try to change people's minds and get them to vote for it.
Okay, so you're going to seek out Robert Livingston?
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a little bit of clout because you're the senior member of the Legion. So you are able to get in to see this guy, and he says, Sergeant Allen, I've heard good things about your band of superhumans. They fought well around New York. I'm sorry that they weren't able to hold the lines and keep the city out of British hands, but I believe we have a chance of reclaiming it in the future.
Thank you, as do I, which is why I'm here.
I understand you were also involved in defending Washington against that assassination attempt.
Yes, we gave it our best. It was a very messy scuffle. Washington and Hamilton sustained some almost dire injuries.
Yes, I've heard of that young Hamilton. He seems to be a bit of a rabble rouser, but I've heard he's quite a speaker.
Yes, quite brave indeed.
Very well. What can I do for you, Sergeant?
Just on a side note, I'm trying to get his support for the vote, right?
Yes, you're trying to get him to vote in favor of the declaration, despite not having authorization from the New York government.
Okay. All right. I'm aware of the situation of us not being on the good side of authorization to cite our independence. I was hoping you would back us on the matter.
Well, I would be happy to assist you in that matter, Sergeant. I do believe that independence is the proper course for us, but unfortunately, I cannot exceed my authority granted to me by the Provisional Congress of New York.
Hmm.
I hope to hear from them soon, but I'm afraid I will likely not hear from them until we have until the vote has already passed. I've read Mr. Jefferson's first draft, and I believe it says what it needs to say, but I simply cannot go beyond the authority that's granted to me in good conscience.
There's a lot of lives on the stake here. Please, I beg your assistance in this matter.
Oh, would you like to make a persuasion roll?
Yes, I would. Not generally bad.
Holy
Okay.
Whoa.
So with a 20, he just seems to be in agony here. He says, yeah, I would
Sorry.
in all fairness, Sergeant, if I thought I could do it honorably, I would in a second assist you with this, but I simply cannot honorably exceed my authority in this fashion. I would have to immediately resign from the Continental Congress and return to New York in shame.
Hmm.
But I am confident that once my message is received and the Provisional Congress has a chance to debate it, I am confident that New York will join the cause of liberty.
Well, I appreciate your honesty, and when the time comes for your support, we can get it the right way. I'll be calling upon you once more, sir.
Very well. Thank you very much, Sergeant, and I wish you good fortune and good hunting out there.
Thank you. Good day.
All right, Clara, I'm guessing you're probably more likely to go to Pennsylvania than South Carolina. Just a hunch.
Just a hunch. I mean, there's good Quaker folk out there.
There are, yes.
So I'm actually not. I mean, I know Ben Franklin was from Pennsylvania, but I'm not otherwise familiar
Well, you
with the
can
delegation.
you can certainly do a little networking to figure out what you can find out about Pennsylvania. So that would be a persuasion roll, unless you're going to knock heads to do it.
I can do that. I mean, I'm sure every delegation has their servants.
They do, yeah.
Their colored servants. So, you know, I feel like that would be a good place to start, and just kind of ask around. That's probably where I would be comfortable
Okay.
checking first.
Most of the Pennsylvania servants are not black people, but there are a handful. So go ahead and make a persuasion roll
Okay.
to talk to folks.
Oh,
So you don't find out a whole lot with a 2, but you do get 2 names that might be worth pursuing, which are John Dickinson and Robert Morris.
okay. Do either of them seem more friendly, or do they hang out? Like, what's the relationship between those two?
It seems like Dickinson is maybe the more the stronger personality, perhaps.
Okay, let's go talk to him. Do I have a sense of what his leaning is going to be?
No, but you might be able to get one by talking to him.
Okay. You know what? I'm going to boost my persuasion before we.
Sure, make the roll.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and make a boost trait skill roll.
Okay.
Well, with the +2 for concentrating, because you definitely have time to, that's a 5. So you now have a D6 in persuasion.
Okay. So let's go meet Mr. Dickinson.
So he seems a little. Yeah. So he does admit you to his house in Philadelphia. He seems a little uncomfortable, and you're not sure if it's because you're a woman soldier or because you're black. It's kind of hard to tell, but he does seem a little uncomfortable with meeting you. But you know, he stands to greet you. He shakes your hand and he says, "So, Corporal, is it? What brings you to my house today?
Well, we are here to try to understand your leanings and to sway you to the cause of independence from the British. I'm going to make a notice roll and see if there's anything I can tell
Okay.
about how he might feel about me and like what the situation is.
Okay. With a 15, you're getting a pretty good read on him. And
Okay.
it seems like it's more the female thing that he's uncomfortable with. Because you are a woman in breeches, which is pretty scandalous, and he may not have had a lot of experience with gray coats, which is really the only other place you'd see women like that. So you kind of get the sense that it's your gender that's throwing him a little bit. And he says, "Well, Corporal Washington, I presume you're no relation to our commander in chief."
I try not to laugh out loud.
I mean, he probably wouldn't be offended if you laughed. I do believe that independence is the right long-term path for the colonies. However, I believe that it is premature to declare independence before we have governing documents to define how our government will be constituted. And also, I believe that it is vital that we have foreign allies before we formally declare independence.
How are we doing with France at this time? I know that we didn't fare so well with them in the French Indian War, but I mean they're certainly enemies of England.
They are, and we believe that King Louis may be sympathetic to our cause, but we also believe that he is being somewhat cautious about involving himself in the conflict when it is less certain that the colonies will prevail. It's a bit of a catch-22, I'm afraid.
Of course.
Which is a really anachronistic expression for him to say.
I was
going to say, might be a tad bit early.
It's a bit of a double bind, I'm afraid. On the one hand, having the French in our corner would greatly increase our chances of victory. But on the other, the French will not commit to an alliance unless seeing that we have, in fact, been at least somewhat victorious.
That's right. So have you had a chance to read Jefferson's Declaration of Independence?
I have. Jefferson is an excellent writer, well-educated man, and I believe that the sentiments expressed in it are the kind of sentiments that would be a strong basis for our nation. But there are many difficult questions to answer about how we would govern ourselves as an independent nation.
So what are your feelings about that? And when is the time to be brave? When is the time to be bold, if not now?
Go ahead and give me that persuasion roll with your boost there.
Okay. So it's boosted to a D6.
And that roll was
close,
terrible.
And then...
So you might want to Benny that.
Yeah.
Oh, I did roll. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Really?
Did I re-roll?
You did re-roll, and it was still really bad. You want to try one more time?
God.
You've got 3 bennies.
Yeah.
Wow.
What?
Oh, what the heck?
Did I actually roll?
Yeah. You've rolled 3 times now.
Wow.
You've still got 2 bennies left, and we're almost at the end of the night, so I'd say Benny away.
Oh,
You're still, no,
I am
none of those count.
Persuasive.
None of those count. You're still rolling a D4.
Wait, what? I don't know what's happening here.
Let me get in and do some rolls here. That's right. Okay, so that one, on the other hand, when with the proper die, that one's successful.
Wait, I don't see you rolling.
I did. I rolled for you. It's the bottom one. All right, so.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. So he says.
It still looks like I'm rolling a die 4, though.
No, you're rolling a 6. If you click on the numbers, you click on the numbers, you can see the actual rolls.
Okay.
So he says, I cannot, in good conscience, vote in favor of independence at this time. However, I believe I would be willing to abstain. And if I abstain, I suspect I can convince my colleague Robert Morris to abstain as well. And in that case, the Pennsylvania vote will shift 3-2 in favor of independence.
Oh.
All right. And that's where we'll leave it for now. So New York seems like it's not going to happen. Pennsylvania seems like it is going to happen, but South Carolina and Delaware are still up in the air. Unfortunately, our recording of the remainder of the session was lost, but have no fear. The Legion succeeded in retrieving Caesar Rodney from Delaware, and some careful persuasion convinced the South Carolina delegation to vote for independence as well. With only New York abstaining, the Continental Congress decides to break with Britain, and the United States is born. You can follow Happy Monster Press on Facebook as Happy Monster Press, at our website, happymonsterpress.com, Twitter as Happy Monster PRS, or follow the podcast on YouTube, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, iTunes, or Google Play Music. The Happy Monster Cast is part of the Savage Worlds Media Network. This game references the Savage Worlds game system available from Pinnacle Entertainment Group at www.peginc.com. It is unofficial media content permitted under the Media Network Content Agreement. This content is not managed, approved, or endorsed by Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Certain portions of the materials used are the intellectual property of Pinnacle, and all rights are reserved. Savage Worlds, all related settings and unique characters, locations, and characters' logos and trademarks are copyrights of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. All other content is the intellectual property of Happy Monster Press. Background music is Ice Cold by Jason Shaw.
Oh.